Hi, I'm Weston. I love talking about the Rangers, and I'm here to recap Game 45 of the regular season. Rangers over the Devils 5-3. And what a series for the Rangers, beating the Devils 4 out of the 4. A fantastic stretch by the Rangers. And I'm going to talk about the series and how the playoffs are starting to shape up at the end of this. So getting right into it, early on, 14:37 left in the first. Jacob Trouba lays an insane hit down center ice, and that draws a heck of a crowd. There ends up being a penalty on the Devils to give the Rangers their first power play of the game. So that's pretty nice. It was a roughing that put them, or roughing against us that put us on the power play. And on the power play, 13:29, Rangers have it. They're passing around. Panarin gives it to Mika Zibanejad. He sits, and with one of the best passes of the season, one of the best assists on the season for the Rangers, Mika fakes a pass perfect for Kreider, and he just tips it on in. Beautiful, 1-0, very quickly in the game. And then a little bit later on, 5:54 left in the period. Vitaly Kravtsov with a really good defensive play forces a turnover. The puck gets to Howden. Howden sets up Vitaly Kravtsov and his first NHL goal, and it was a pretty darn nice one. Brilliant start to the play by him and a brilliant finish to get us up 2-0. And he had a great moment in the press conference when they said, "How does it feel to have your first career NHL goal?" And he said, "It's the second one," which is a heck of a lot of shade from a rookie, which is, I mean, that was just beautiful. A little bit later on in the period, 3:24, Kevin Rooney for interference. I thought it was a terrible call. I wrote exactly Mickey Mouse penalty because I thought it was just bad. I thought it was just a normal check. That happens all the time. I don't know why they gave us a penalty on it. But we're shorthanded. While shorthanded, Georgiev making an incredible save, just going all the way he can to his left, and it looked like he hurt his leg badly. He would only leave for the last 2 minutes of the second, or of the first, and then be back in the second, and I thought he had a really good game. But it was scary there for a minute. It looked like it was going to be Shesterkin time, and ended up not. But that is, that happened. That was a scary moment. And credit to him, he made another save. I think he made 2 after the injury, while he was just essentially the left half of his body was just limp, which, what a warrior, Alexander Georgiev. So the Rangers played a first period that was very similar to last game. A really good first. They get a nice lead, but you got to keep going. Put the foot on the pedal going into the third. And we kind of wouldn't. Or going into the second, excuse me. So in the second, Georgiev obviously comes back, like I mentioned. And early on, 14:43, the Rangers get a rush going into the Devils' zone. It is Hedl with it. He passes. It wasn't a great pass to Alexis Lafreniere in front. He corrals it with his skate, puts it on the backhand of his stick, goes 5-hole, scores. This was his best goal as a New York Ranger for Alexis Lafreniere. A beautiful, beautiful goal by him. And then a Devil, I don't know who it was, just shoves him into the goaltender as hard as he could. Completely uncalled for. I have no idea how they didn't get penalized for it. I really don't. Well, let me rephrase this. I know how they didn't because it pushed us into the goaltender. But that was just awful. Massive scrum broke out because, they shoved him into their own player. And it would be 3-0, but this was just absurd. I thought Lafreniere, I got scared for a minute. I thought he went face first into the pipe. He didn't. He just did, fall back on the ground. He looked hurt for a minute, but I think it was just shook up more than anything else. And that was about it. Everyone got up. Blackwood didn't seem to be injured, so that was a positive. And Lafreniere wasn't hurt, and we got a goal out of it, so that was all pretty cool. A little bit later on, 9:35, the Devils would cross-check Ryan Lindgren into the boards. He went ankles first. I don't know how you can do that and not shatter both ankles, but thankfully he didn't. He got out of it fine. It was a penalty on them, and Lindy Ruff was complaining to the officials about it being a penalty, which, I mean, anything short of just, taking your stick and knocking a guy's teeth out is, this was a clear cross-check. And if you don't want to call it a cross-check, that's fine. Call it boarding. I don't know what he thought about this wasn't a penalty, and it was kind of insane. We wouldn't do anything on that power play. However, we got another one then, because old Jack Hughes, the number 1 pick, before Kakko, he decided to trip Anthony Bitetto, who was back in the lineup. I liked that. And afterwards, then he, after getting penalized, just whapped his stick into the boards, and then he got a 10-minute game misconduct, which I thought was, pretty funny. We wouldn't do anything on that power play either, because that was sort of the story for the first bit. And then 1:05 left. PK Subban with a big shot, stop, but the rebound is put in, and man oh man, what more could you ask for on Georgiev on this? Stopped the first shot by PK Subban, and like I said yesterday, I talked about him a little bit. And his skate, as far as he can go, it looked like he was just like a T, but upside down. There is nothing more Georgiev could have done to not allow this goal. So it's 3-1 going into the third. And again, just like yesterday, I thought it was a very similar third or second period to the second period yesterday. We both got a goal. We looked significantly worse than we did in the game before, or in the period before. And I thought there were a lot of similarities between today and yesterday. So on to the third period. Early on, Studnik gets it. He just put one past Georgiev, and now it's 3-2. And I'm like, okay, this isn't great. Then 14:30 left in the period, and another one gets past him. And now we're tied, and I'm starting to sweat a bit. Then a miracle happens. That sounds wrong. A miracle happens. Kako got a high stick, so the Rangers would get a power play out of it. And on the power play, 3 minutes left. Beautiful setup for Mika Zibanejad, and he didn't miss. 4-3 Rangers. And at this moment, I'm hype as can be. Then, at 24 seconds, empty net. Ryan Strome gets the puck. He's about to shoot it in. They just hold his hands below him so he doesn't get it. Again, there was no one there. And it is an awarded goal to make it 5-3. And that was it. The Rangers win. Going into the series, I call it a series. I said the Rangers had to win 3 of the 4. Because they wanted to keep talking like a playoff team. They wanted to get this persona of, we're going to make the playoffs. And I said, that's neat. That's neat that you want to do that. I get that. But you got to actually, win games to be a playoff team. I said if you can win 3 of the 4, I'd start believing. They got all 4. They got 8 out of the 8 points. And I believe that means they've gotten 9 of the past 10 possible. Or 11 of the last 12 possible, actually, because they won the game before that. They're on a heck of a roll. They've lost 1 in regulation in the last 11, I believe. I'm pretty sure since the 30th of last month, we have 2 regulation losses, and then 2 or 3 overtime losses, and then I think like 7 or 8, 9 wins. They are on a heck of a run right now. And I'm starting to believe, man. I'm starting to buy into this. I think our best chance at this point, because Boston won again today, it feels like everyone is selling out for us to not make the playoffs. So I really don't know if our best chance is Boston at this point, which I know sounds very strange, but we play more games against other teams. Currently, we're 4 points behind Boston. We are 6 points behind the Islanders and 7 behind the Penguins. I think the Islanders or Penguins are probably where we have our best chance to make it. And you might say, Weston, that's idiotic. How could you say that? And I would be like, well, the Islanders are slipping right now, and the Penguins have looked so-so recently. If I had to guess right now a team that we would take the playoff spot of, I might say at this exact moment, and again, it might change in a week, but I think the Islanders have the best chance of losing their spot to us right now, as of the time of this recording, so the 18th. But man, this playoff race is tightening up, because I believe we play the Islanders at least 3 or 4 more times before the season's over, and we play Boston 2 more times before the season's over, which is the exact point spread that we would need to make it from those teams, which is absurd. So, player performances that I want to touch on. Artemi Panarin had 2 assists, because of course he did. He's Artemi Panarin. He is second in the NHL right now in points per game, which is absurd. If you actually take his total points per game, like on the average, he would be on pace to just have, I believe, at this point, because of today, about 3.5 less total points on the season than Connor McDavid if, the Putin thing didn't happen. Which, Artemi Panarin, man, I've said it, and I'll keep saying it. Worth every penny, that contract, man. It's awesome. It's fantastic that they have such a talented player on, such a talented winger. It's incredible. Alexis Lafreniere had a beautiful goal, easily his best of the season. And he's heating up. I believe that is his 4th goal in the last 12 games or so. he's starting to, score at a pretty good click. I thought he had a pretty good game where he played confidently. And Vitaly Kravtsov, beautiful play defensively that ended up helping him get his first goal of the season, first goal of his career, actually. So that's also fantastic. Both of those guys, ironically, had goals in wins. Granted, Alexis Lafreniere's was an overtime winner, but, take what you can get. I say take what you can get. That's all you can hope for. Chris Kreider, again, has a goal today. That's pretty good. First goal of the game. If he starts to heat up before the season, or before the end of the season, if he's heating up right now, that playoff spot could be ours. And like I said yesterday, it was yesterday, if you can have Panarin, Strome, Blackwell, if you can have the top 6 really, really fired on all cylinders, plus the third line in... At this point, I would probably say Lafreniere, maybe Kravtsov, and Hedl, but I'm still okay with it being being Lafreniere, Hedl, and Kakko. But if you can get the top 3 lines performing like they have in the past few games, there's a chance, and there's not only a chance that you could make it, but maybe make it past the first round. But Kreider hitting up would be huge. Last but not least, on the skaters, Mika Zibanejad. It's not a birthday hat trick, but the best assist of the year for the New York Rangers and the game-winning goal in a pivotal game. Not a hat trick, but that is a pretty darn good way to spend a birthday, man. Back-to-back birthdays that were huge. And speaking of birthdays, Mekhi Becton had his birthday today, so that's also really cool. And Georgiev. I thought he had a better game than it's going to say. 25 of 28 isn't incredible, but I thought he had a pretty good game. He had a couple of really nice saves. He kept us in the period, or kept us in it in the first period. I thought he made a bunch of really nice ones then. 10 for 10. And then he went down with an injury. And then he came back and probably was still not feeling 100%. So I thought he, was pretty good. And speaking of the Islanders, which I mentioned earlier, we will play them Tuesday. And I want to very quickly take a look at our upcoming schedule, because we now have 11 games left in the season, which is, by the way, absurd that it's only that few left. So we have the Islanders Tuesday. We have 2 against the Flyers Thursday and Friday. Buffalo Sunday and Tuesday. 2 more against the Islanders Thursday and Saturday. Washington next month, so the 3rd and 5th. And then Boston the 6th and 8th. And all of these games seem pivotal right now. But we do play the Islanders 3 more times, which could be what we need to make up those spots. And I would also say this. If we have Philadelphia and Buffalo in 4 games, those are going to be another big 4 games to pick up. If you could get, again, I'm going to say 3 of the 4, that would be huge. But Philadelphia is fighting for their lives. So I'm actually just going to say if you can get 5 or 6 of the points out of that. Because I think if you lose maybe one of them in overtime to Philadelphia, that isn't the end of the world. But man, playoff race is heating up, guys. We are getting there. And I'm looking forward to see how this season turns out. So that is all I have to say for the game. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day. And go Rangers.